I love this job. Very happy.
On this episode of Jen and Friends, a council member out of Surprise, Arizona.
Here it is. It is a mass surveillance system. Okay, it is. And if we're going to have it, we need to know what we're doing with it and how are we using the tools correctly?
Johnny Melton on license plate readers, AI, and privacy.
Hey, Jen.
How are you?
Doing great.
Yes. I am so excited to talk to you today.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting my camera fixed. I'm so excited too.
Yeah, it was a year ago. I went back and I watched that interview from a year ago. It was November 25th last year.
Really? And it's going to be a very new council. So, I mean, it's going to be crazy. 3 new people, 3 new additions, right, will come in, including a new mayor.
And remember, it was that secret super group that everyone was talking.
Can I just say how much I enjoy the fact that when I'm brought in, it's something very contentious. And I love that. I love that when I'm in there, it's going to be probably contentious. And
It blows up.
I love it.
It does. And it was a year ago you were getting ready to be on council and you just got your nameplate.
I already got they're slowly onboarding me every week, something different, right? So I got I should put this on X. They made my little nameplate.
Oh, it's exciting though.
I know. I stopped. I got panicked. I'm like, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah.
I told my wife, hey, look at. She's like, oh, yep.
I remember the first time I saw mine, I was like, wow.
Did you freak out? Did you freak out?
Yeah, I did. I freaked out. I kept it too, and I still have. Yeah. And you were super excited. So tell me, how's this first year been?
It's been amazing. Again, I probably shared with this last year, but I never really considered municipal government as a career path, or early on as an activist, as a political activist. I never really saw myself here, but life things happen. Here I am. But I got to say, this is where the Lord wants me. I'm convinced of that. I'm loving every day of it. It's been an amazing experience. I've been now in 11 months now, I guess. So I'll get approaching my 1-year mark in January, and it's been wonderful. Learned a lot. I've actually accomplished things which I didn't think I could, and so yeah, this is where I want to be.
One of the things you had mentioned a year ago was how important it was to strengthen collaborations and partnerships in the West Valley.
Absolutely.
Do you feel you've been able to do that?
Yes, absolutely. And the biggest, the greatest example from my experience was working with El Mirage, our neighbor, a neighboring community. That was I ran on lowering utility rates for my residents, my low income residents in my district. And I could not have done that without that good relationship building with my partners in El Mirage, who provide water services to the east of Surprise. So there are residents in my district who actually get their water not from Surprise, but from El Mirage. So having taken I was worth taking the time to make those relationships, and it worked. And we're seeing it again with Peoria as they're helping us with regional transportation issues. We have residents in Northwest Surprise who are, if you've been up there, we talk about Grand in 303, that nightmare. So Peoria, our neighbor Peoria, has been helping us how we find roads to help alleviate the pain there. So yeah, it's absolutely worth it, and we're going to keep doing that. And I'm going to have to build my relationship with Glendale as we continue to grow, and we're going to be, going to them to help with again road improvements and how we best use the land that borders us. So absolutely is worth it. I'm gonna keep doing it.
We've only talked, this is the second time we've actually talked to each other, other than a couple of X messages back and forth. But it seems like you really have the personality
Oh.
for this. Do you feel like this is a good fit for you?
It is, yeah. I'd be miserable in the legislature. I would be. I don't know if I could do it. I feel like, listen, you've witnessed, you studied politics for a long time. You know how it works. If you're going to be an elected official, there are two things you have to balance. There is obviously the policy, right? You have to understand how things work, and you have to get in the weeds sometimes and get technical. And then there is the politics of it, right? There is a little bit of theater, right? Um, Politics is also relationship building, right? Is coalition building. That's step one of politics, is how big the coalition, and that sometimes involves theater and you know, uh, and sometimes it can get ugly, you know, so uh, people like to rage and get themselves on camera and righteously scream at whoever. I don't know if I'm built for all that. I don't know. I like that my residents, my constituents, at least understand that, uh, you know, that I'm going to speak with them in good faith. I'm going to listen in good faith. I'm going to try to be open to all, to hear both sides of the story, and and not to approach things cynically. I try not to do that. And listen, I've been in politics for a long time. I do it all the time. I rage all the time. I try not to let that out. Sometimes I do, and I don't feel good about it. But yeah, I think the way I'm wired, this is probably where I'm best suited for.
Today, we're talking about flock cameras
Yeah.
and license plate readers and all that.
Yes.
One of the things that I have found of all the people I've been interviewing is it's a topic that actually unites people.
Um,
And so before we get into this, I kind of want to establish a baseline. Where are you politically? And the reason I ask that is because I have interviewed Republicans. I have interviewed my lefty friend Josh up in Scarsdale, New York, right? So I've talked to all kinds of people. So where are you politically as far as privacy and these
yeah.
license plate readers in general?
Yeah. So just philosophically, I am, privacy rights for me are really important. This is why I don't, we have, whether you're right, it unites us because whether you are left of center, right of center, privacy rights are kind of universal, right? The expectation of privacy is promised to us, right, through the Constitution. It's morally defensible, right, to want to um, enjoy privacy if you are a citizen. Um, and to ask people to surrender their privacy, it hits a nerve, at a very deep level, and I get it. And for me, I'm always conscious. When I approach these new technologies, whether it's flock license plate readers, whether it's drones used by public safety, whether it's speed cameras, which I hate. These are all um, these are all powerful tools, and it can rob us of privacy. And I don't care where you are in the political spectrum. Um, yeah, that hits a nerve. And so for me, I always go into it and say, well, when I look at these things, I always use that lens. These are tools. How do we still guarantee our right to privacy. So I'm just suspect of these things, not against all of them, but I am certainly suspect, and I think it does demand oversight from elected officials at every level.
And I think the challenge is too, we want to support law enforcement. We
Mhm.
want them to be able to have these tools in their
Yes,
toolbox to do their jobs, but then you do have to balance it with the rights that people have,
but
right?
that's always been true. The authors of the Declaration, the authors of our Constitution, would never have imagined technologies as phones, as you know, internet, flock camera. They would have never have been able to. But it doesn't matter because the guarantee they wrote survives all of that. Okay, they were worried about, you better not read my letter that I wrote to my wife. But a letter is just a medium of communication. It doesn't matter how the medium changes. The guarantee is still there. Your right to privacy still needs to be protected, whether it's an email or a phone call, a text, whatever. And the principles, and I think this is where we have to remember, the courts have been going through this for years, trying to apply this test as technology changes. And the tests never change. I don't care how the mediums change, right? So, yeah, the Balance Act is there, but the tests don't change. Does that make any sense?
It does. And one of the things I realized this years ago, the law is very slow to keep up with
Sure.
technology. Everything is happening so quickly,
Yeah.
especially as now we're headed towards digital ID,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? It's like by the time, I mean, think about it here in Arizona, it's a couple months before they even get back in session again. And by then, who knows what technology will be able to do.
That's right. Yeah.
So tell me what's going on up there in Surprise
Yes.
and what are you doing?
Yeah. So this conversation really started with, as you recall, Surprise, like every other jurisdiction, has the uh, automatic license plate readers, the Flock brand. Flock is a manufacturer. It is a it's been there for a while. It recently has come to light when one of our residents uh, he had an interaction with law enforcement after they pulled data on it might have been a hit and run, I think. And so this resident, by the way, was not guilty. They interviewed him. It wasn't his car, but they did interview him. And this resident brought Block kind of to the to the forefront of the discussion here in Surprise. And so we started having public discussions about it. And I'm glad this happened because at the time I did not realize how broad the flock had been deployed throughout Surprise. People hate when I say this, but it's just, here it is. It is a mass surveillance system. Okay, it is. That's I'm not trying to I'm not trying that's not to I'm not trying to be outrageous, but that's what it is. And if we're going to have it, we need to know what we're doing with it and how we are and are we using the tools correctly. So we had this public discussion about this. After that, it's now you're seeing, as you have noted, jurisdictions out there who are abusing the system. We have seen it in Georgia, where a police officer pulled data because he was working part-time with one of Flock's competitors, right? We see it in Texas, where a police officer was trying to track a woman who was searching for abortion services. There are ICE agents might be using it for immigration purposes. So as these and other abuses, as these abuses and possible abuses get more traction in the news, I thought it would be very important for me to audit my city's flock system. And so that's what I did a couple days ago. Because what people need to understand is flock it is a tool, as you said, it's a tool that police use, that has had success stories. We are surprised. We caught attempted murder, a very high profile attempted murder here last year. And he was captured because of the flock system. The information shared with our system to Scottsdale system is how the police caught this man. So we have these tools. So we have to have guardrails. We have to make sure that these things are being used for law enforcement purposes in criminal cases. So that's why I perform the audit with that in mind, to see, the city of Surprise, are we behaving properly with this very powerful technology? Flock is an incredibly powerful analytical tool. I didn't realize it until I sat in the audit. It's not just license plate information it reads. It can distinguish colors and types of cars. Okay. It's very powerful. And if you can, carry that forward, if it can do that with cars, can it do with individual people? Right. So it's pretty interesting. And you have to, it's easy to get to think, wow, this could get carried away. So the best thing to do is just sit down, perform an audit. And that's what I did.
Did you lead that audit?
Yeah.
Was you a leader on that?
Yeah. So, and I can talk through, here's what we did. The couple of things we did was, the most important thing is, how is the data extracted? Well, let me back up. First of all, this tool in Surprise is used for criminal offenses, hit and runs, violent crimes, sexual assault. Right? It's not supposed to be for civil traffic offenses. This cannot be used as a tool it should not be used to pursue civil offenses. This is for,
that's could not and should not are two different words.
that's right. Right now, our system can't, but in other words, the infrastructure is not there for it to do it. And by policy, we don't. But policies can change, and it doesn't take a couple million bucks to add the infrastructure, and now you can have Flock pursuing civil criminals. So you're right. That's a very important distinction. So the first thing I look at is this being used strictly for criminal offenses? And when I was there, when I got to when I arrived at PD, in fact, one of the cases I was auditing was a real, unfortunately, it was a sexual abuse case. They were tracking a car alleged to be used in a sexual abuse case. So the next thing you do is say, well, how is it accessed? Because that's another thing. We can't allow anybody to just go in there and see it. We don't want this to be used to track people. So what they do is, the system is set up it must have a public safety nexus. By that, I mean, to justify pulling data, you need to have an active case number. Okay. That has been assigned. Without that criminal investigation, so that's your first tool you have.
So they can't go in and say, Johnny Melton, let's go in and see what's on him.
That's right. In fact, if you tried to do that, a couple of things happen. One, the Flock, the actual interface platform wouldn't recognize that. It would say, what? We tried that. I tried to say, leave it blank, or say Councilman Melton wants to do it. And the system doesn't even let you go. Nothing happens. It just says they won't let you continue.
Okay.
You need to have an actual case file. On top of that, there's an in-house audit team. We'll get to that later. So yeah, so the way we have it set up is you need to have an active criminal investigative file. Once you have that, then you can start seeing, okay, where this car has been used. And then it shows you, okay, it's here, it's here, it's here. If you have a plate number. If you don't have a plate number, you can say, well, it was a gray sedan, two-door, whatever. And it will look for and this tool is very powerful. They can every gray two-door sedan, it will show you that's cross intersection. Surprise, we have 23. We have deployed 23 cameras throughout the city, plus interfaces with private flock systems by commercial properties. So there's a lot of cameras out there, and it can pull a lot of information. So it's important that we say, well, is this being used for actual criminal investigation? The next thing we do is retention. This is a thing that I was surprised to learn. There are jurisdictions that hold this information for 6 months. Here, surprise is 30 days. So that's another thing I checked. Show me the retention, and we have it. We have it locked in at 30 days. And in order to change, 30 days is enough. The police, surprise, say 30 days is adequate. You don't really need more than that. So just make sure the retention's still there. After 30 days, the information goes away. And then we move on to the actual audit, because we do have an in-house audit, but it's not the police. We have another department auditing the police. That was another very important thing to confirm. Our IT department audits the police on the flock system. So our IT department is looking to see every time a police officer is requesting data, is that a legitimate case file? Is there a field? Have they provided enough information to satisfy a criminal nexus to retrieve data? So those are the type of things I was looking for. And I was very, very, very happy. I was shocked to learn how powerful this thing was, but at least I know the internal procedures of a surprise. We are following those rules.
Take me back to how did Flock and the City of Surprise, how was that initial contact made? Do you know?
I don't know. It was long before my time. So I imagine how often these things happen. I'm just speculating here, but often a vendor will come to the city. Hey, do you like this? We'll try it out. That's probably what happened. Since then, obviously, there have been more companies now. Axon has their cameras now. I think Signal 8 has them. So there's more players in the market now.
Do you know if council voted on these before they were installed, or was it the other way around?
I don't think so. I don't know if there was council action when these were installed originally.
The reason I asked that question, so I've been looking at all these different cities now and how flock cameras are getting into Arizona cities. The first one I found was here in Goodyear. They had 16 cameras up and running before council knew about it.
Yeah,
And
okay.
okay, so
Yeah.
and then when the city manager went to council, it was for more money. It wasn't whether or
Yeah.
not we should have the technology, it
Yes.
was let's up it and do more.
Okay. Yeah. I can't speak for them, but I've been in the job long enough to know how things work. So here's how things work. The city as a council member, my job is to set policy and pay for things, right? I approve budgets. So I tell the police, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to fight crime. Go. And what happens is we often have to just assume that their police are going to go and buy the things, the tools they need to fight crime. It is up to city council and the civilian oversight to check in to see what they're doing. Okay. So I get it. I have been, as a city council member, it is my job to read through the information's there. Okay. City staff doesn't hide things really. They really can't. They can hide things if you don't look, but we all receive the consent agenda days in advance. We're free to look at it and ask questions. That's a very important lesson I've learned. I have, staff does not know what your policies are unless you tell them. Okay. So that's why I went to PD. I said, I want to see the system. I want to make sure that you promised me that this would only be used for criminal offenses. You promised me that it would be retained for only 30 days. And if anything changes, you will come tell me. So as a political actor, I have to make that direction. And so does the Buckeye City Council and any other city council. So whatever when you give your staff money to do things, it's on you to check out to see what they're doing. So I don't know if that helped. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how.
Yes. Yes. And in fact, it's funny because a year ago, when we were talking about you being on council, I'm like, look at those consent agendas.
Yes, that's right. And I'll tell you something. And that was a very important lesson. And I still look to it, not because I'm not, again, I don't approach this cynically, but I know staff, we have nearly 2,000 employees in the city, millions and millions of dollars every day to operate the city, from traffic to sewage to police. I mean, there are countless moving parts, and they're all just trying to make it work. And they want money, they want authorization to do a thing, which in their mind makes sense. And they do not look through it. They do not look at it through the lens of politics. They don't, right? I need money to run fiber optics to a thing. It's on you to ask why, okay? Because they don't know your politics. So yes, that was a very powerful lesson, and I haven't pulled a consent item yet, but at least I know that I can. And before I do that, before I pull a consent, I will go to staff and say, "What's this money for again? What are we doing?" Oh, okay, yeah, fine, because they don't know. They don't know what you're. They often don't know. You have to train them.
I requested my flock data here in Goodyear.
Yes.
And in 6 months, because there's a 185-day data retention policy here. And I need to preface this, I really don't leave my house that often.
Mm-hmm.
They got me 243 times. There was 1 month of that I was gone completely. So essentially it was 5 months worth of data. And 273 photos came back with that. In the photos, there were close up, and I'm not talking about a car with a plate. I'm talking strictly the plates. There were 6 plates that were not mine.
Mm-hmm.
That were tied to my data.
Yeah.
And then there was a red Dodge, not mine, tied to my data. So I contacted Goodyear and I asked the police chief, hey, can I get this out of my file? I mean, what if one of these people do something?
Yeah.
Is that going to affect me? And then the other question was, what if I do something? Will that affect them?
Yeah.
And his response was, you can't, there's no mechanism for getting data out of flock. Now, the other part of that is police, it is their responsibility to double check these plates before they pull you over and do anything. But that doesn't always happen. And AI is not perfect. It doesn't get it right all the time.
This was actually we talked about this during the audit actually, because you're talking about a false positive, right? That's what you're talking about. And a couple of good points here. Number one, I'm going to overstate the obvious. 185 days? Come on, man. Okay, whatever. If I
couldn't believe it.
I'd lose my mind if I was on city council. Man,
I'm like, they got me 8 times going to Costco in one day.
So, which I've done, by the way. So that's one. But okay, so more importantly is the false positive. So this came up during the audit, and I believe you actually, I want to say you might have posted a story of a woman who was approached by police as a result of a false positive. Was that your remember that article? Yeah, right. Um, and the police reminded me because you're right, AI is not perfect. Okay, it's good, but it's not infallible. Okay, uh, and they told me they said, listen, AI is remember it's a tool like any other investigative tool, and whether it's video evidence from flock or evidence or conventional evidence, it doesn't matter how you it's the police. This is a skill set issue. Okay, the police must examine evidence, whether however it was uh, uh, captured, or so. But it's a very good lesson that story that you published. Imagine a cop taking that at face value. AI can't lie. It's flock. It's perfect, baby. You know, I'm not going to double check anything. And so that was a discussion we had during the audit, that we had to understand that the flock the data from flock should not be treated any differently than any other piece of data you gather. You can't just take it at face value. You gotta double check it. You have to use your police skills that you've learned as a detective and piece that together with other things. So yeah, I would. That's a very good point, and again, to the public, this is why I'm glad we're having this discussion, because we cannot assume flock is perfect, and it happened in this one case that you shared. So anyway, I think I'm
Well,
rambling.
here in Goodyear, I we have a phenomenal police department. And I know they go through training, and I do have that level of trust,
Yeah,
right? Take Prescott Valley, one of the very few cities that has published its transparency portal. Goodyear just came online
got
this
it.
past week with theirs. If you look at the Prescott Valley portal, they have 267 sharing partners. So they
You mean
share,
with other jurisdictions?
yes,
Yeah.
all over the country.
Yes.
And let's say, Prescott Valley, phenomenal police department. They've got the training, they're doing it. But who's to say one of those 267 partners doesn't have the same kind of training? And now I'm on vacation in that city
Yeah.
and something happens. From the audit, what safeguards are there that there is across the board training that my information will be safe in one of these other cities?
It's a very good question. So, Surprise, just like Prescott Valley has regional partners. Um, but again, another jurisdiction cannot just go in to our system and pull data. That's not how it works.
But it's the hot list. So let's say one of these plates, right,
Yeah,
that's not mine,
right.
that gets pinged,
Ah,
right? And then
okay.
how
So
many,
I get your question. So a surprise says, "Hey, we have a hit and run, license plates, blah 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 blah." It goes out to the universe. Buckeye picks up that information and says, "Oh, that plate's there," and we pull them over. Okay, is that what you're getting at?
right?
Okay. Well,
Yes.
again, it's no different than any kind of bolo, right? It's no different than whether Flock saw it or somebody else. A cop said, "Oh, my witness said that license plate was blah 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 blah. Look out for that." So that goes out to the universe. Another jurisdiction sees that license plate and is going to pull over. And again, it doesn't really matter where they got the information. Um, the police training is going to have to kick in, and they're going to have to approach that as if that information was obtained in any other manner. Does that make sense?
Yes. And one of the things that I think has been helpful in this discussion, and I noticed it after Illinois. So Flock had the big to do in Illinois where Illinois didn't want them sharing outside of Illinois. They didn't want to have any of the data outside of
Got
Illinois.
it.
And from what I remember and what I understand, Flock went in and made those searchable queries, made them stricter by you actually have to go in, like you said,
Yeah.
specifically, this is what we're looking for. So there is that audit trail. I
Yeah.
feel as a company, Flock is trying to be a better company to meet some of these higher standards. Do you feel that way?
I hope so. I've never met anybody from the company, to be clear. I only looked at it from its interface as an auditor, right? So, um, uh, based on what I've seen, at least from a surprise perspective, yes, I get that sense. But Block's a big company, and it's okay to keep asking. It's okay to ask that question and to keep asking that question, um, because a company company is made up of people, okay, and the company has decision makers. And I hope that whether it's Flock or any other Axon, any other ALPR company, I hope they keep that in mind. I hope they keep to those standards and those principles because I hate to see the any kind of company like this say, you know what, maybe we can expand the scope of Flock and become data brokers, right? That's not what we want. And there's no evidence that's happening now, but it's a good to keep asking that question.
In Surprise, there was a gentleman, and I suspect it's the same one that you had talked about. He tried to FOIA his own flock records
Yes.
using the same language that I used, where I got mine in Goodyear and in Prescott Valley. He was denied. Do you know about this case, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I heard about it. So I want to repeat that I am not going to, I know your listeners are going to hate this, but I am not going to adjudicate a FOIA request or a public records request. That's the lawyer's jobs. I will say that the city's position appears to be that flock data is not for public consumption, and therefore they have no obligation to provide it. I believe
Even
is
if
what the
it's your own information,
what's that?
he's not looking for anyone else. He's just looking for his own information in the system.
I get it, but again, the city's position appears to be any data on flock is not for public consumption. I think is their position, and if they and again, I kind of sympathize with that because if how they pull the data, they need a case file to pull the data. Okay, well, the system would need a case number. So I don't know how they bypass that. See what I'm saying? So
Well, two cities did it for me.
I get it. I
So
hear you.
there's got to be a way.
Maybe
And then there was a state where a judge ruled this week that all this flock data is public record and anybody can go in and FOIA. I mean, I really feel like this is going to be a huge issue.
it's going to be it's going to be a legal question. Yeah, no doubt. And we let the lawyer and I would say let the courts figure it out. That's my position. Uh, I know someone shared that case with me. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to dig into it.
You
But
don't play one on TV.
no, my father wouldn't let me go into law when I was young. So I, you know, I get it. Uh, I'm let the courts figure it out. If the courts tell us we have to provide data, we will. You know, I'm sure.
In Scottsdale this week, in the consent agenda, they had the legislative agenda for 2026 in there. And one of them was to be supportive of transparent and responsible use of photo radar, AI, license plate readers, that kind of thing. Barry Graham, council member up there, was able to strike the last part of that wording. So it was supportive, responsible, and transparent use of emerging technologies, but then dropped the AI license plate reader and photo
That's fine.
radar.
Sure.
And if you go back and you look at last year with the big photo radar debate here in Arizona, the argument was local control. Chandler, Mesa, Scottsdale, I believe,
Mm.
maybe Tempe. I can't remember all the cities, but they were
PV
really,
has them. PV has them.
yes,
Yeah.
and fighting for, they wanted local control of these issues. What I find interesting, because I have gone back and I've watched hundreds of hours from different cities, how these systems are getting in. One of the common justifications for approving it is everybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
We should too. This is just the way it is.
Yeah.
This is how it's happening. Do you feel there's a responsibility for a big city like Scottsdale or even Glendale with their real-time crime center? Is there a responsibility there in setting these legislative agendas? Because as Barry had pointed out, if you go back and now you're approving this, they can come back and say, look, it's right there in your legislative agenda. You said that you supported photo radar. You said you supported this. As a council member, is that a responsibility to look through those legislative agendas now before next year rolls around?
Yeah, but so sure. But I think as a councilman, my job again is to make sure uh that whatever, okay, let's take photo radar. It's a good example. Uh I would never give them my ear. So if they tried, and I've received an email from a company. Hey, are you interested in photo radar? It pays for itself. It's great. And I just delete it. And so, you know, I I try not to. I don't know if the legislature should even weigh in on this. I don't know. Maybe they should, but it is up to city councils. Listen, if your residents really want photo radar, fine, give it to them. Um, but I think you're right. I think the justifications, actually, Jen, the justifications are always, hey, this is going to raise money, and we're going to share the money with you. That's how every photo radar vendor approaches it. Hey, man, we're going to deploy photo radars on your poorest residents, and we're going to give you a piece of the action. That's how every operator works. And if the city wants to do that, go ahead. Never going to happen here. Surprise. As long as I'm here. So
Do you think that the majority of lawmakers who approve this technology, do they really understand what it is capable of doing?
no, I didn't. I didn't. And I'm a kind of a smart guy. But until I started digging into it, I had no idea the capabilities of this stuff. Couldn't have imagined. I didn't even know. Listen, even the city surprise security cameras, just those cameras are unbelievably powerful. That's just to review the property. We have those because apparently people like to walk onto city property, pretend to trip and fall, and sue the city. Happens all the time. So we have, by the way, if you're a con man, listen up. We have so many cameras around City Hall, ain't gonna work. It has night vision. We can see your nonsense at night. Yes. So there, I'm just putting that out there.
Okay.
But I had no idea until I dug into it. I had no idea the capabilities of modern surveillance systems. Not a clue. So no, they don't have. Of course, they don't have any idea. I wish they would learn. I would encourage every city council, any elected official, to look at your own systems. Okay, just look at it, understand its capability, and then ask yourself: am I obligated to have some kind of to ensure or to ask for guardrails at a minimum? The
What I
answer.
really liked was you have departments other than law enforcement or invested departments. You have separate departments doing the audit.
Yeah.
Is that your idea, or
No,
is that just a policy within the city?
that's that was the policy when the audit um when the audit function became available, however year or two ago, whatever. It's been a while. It's been a while, but anyway. But since then, they understood a couple things. One, our IT department is so technically savvy it kind of made sense. But also, they are it's not the police watching the police, right? So our internal government, our city management understood that if we're going to have a real audit, if it's going to be legitimate audit, it's got to be a different department. So that's how it happened. Yeah.
Is,
And
was
I'm
there
not,
any, was there anything else in there that you found that was interesting?
with my notes. I think we covered all of it. Yeah, just for me, I learned that how I didn't know they were I mean, El Mirage has more cameras than we do. That was interesting. But there was more crime in El Mirage too. So I guess what surprised me was the breadth. I didn't realize how massive the Fox network was. It is huge. Just in the valley, you know, there's thousands. I would imagine there's hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of cameras out there. Not just government agencies, but private agencies too, right? There are private landowners who have flock and can share information with us as well. So
Yeah, I'm finding HOAs,
yeah,
schools, churches, and then they can offer up video if they want to. They can offer it up to local police department. So now we're seeing the rise of the virtual block watches. El Mirage
yes.
has a Goodyear just started theirs. Do you foresee any policy issues on that?
I was thinking about that, especially when it comes to the private company. So take the big box, Home Depot, Lowe's. They often use these. They have big parking lots. They depend on these. Um, and right now, when we request information from them, there's a procedure for that. They just don't hand it over. There is a procedure for that, and so I would encourage other jurisdictions just to make sure, you know, uh, uh, if you're going to go request privately owned flock cameras, just, make sure there is a public safety nexus involved in that. Um, that's what I would suggest. Do that and just do that during an audit. So
Anything coming down the pipeline, anything that looks exciting for 2026 on
for
any
supplies,
on any
any
topic?
topic?
Yeah.
Wow. So for me, uh, I'm interested to see how the BNSF fight goes.
Mm.
I'm interested to see how the Bakara data center project goes. I'm interested in seeing, uh, I'm interested in seeing what the state legislatures are going to do in terms of funding. You know, uh, are they going to have I think that my guess is I looked at the JLBC data, and I think the days of fat budgets are done for now, for a while. I don't know if we're going to have another big. Uh, we had a pretty big budget last year in Arizona. We gave a lot of money away. It was nice. I think those days are done probably. I think the next legislature is going to not be so spendy. I think they're going to be constrained of it. So I'm really interested to see what kind of bills come out of there and how it affects the price, especially on the transportation end. So yeah, so I'm be fighting for money for roads, see what kind of bills come out. I think we're going to see less spending bills and more other, what I'm saying, non-budget related bills come out of legislature. I'm curious how that's going to affect us. Um, and of course, water, the Colorado River Compact. I'm interested to see how that plays out. How does that affect us? And I'm gonna see if I can get money for my my next pet project, which is Litchfield Avenue, expanding that.
Okay.
Yeah, but your very first question is like regional, like other West Valley cities working. Another reason why I have selfish reasons. I need the county and city of Glendale to work with me here on Litchfield Avenue. So county, Maricopa, Glendale, if you're listening, I love you. I need your
Give
help.
you a call.
I need help expanding Litchfield Avenue.
You're
Or
a
my,
schools guy. What do you
yeah.
think of proficiency scores right now?
Oh, I didn't really dig too deep. I bet you know. How is Dysart? Are you okay?
I'll double check and I'll get back to you on that.
Good. Okay.
I thought it was interesting. I interviewed Tom Horn,
Oh,
and he just said, this is the responsibility of the school boards. You need to start voting out these people who are making these policies and decisions. What are your thoughts on that?
he's not wrong. I mean, listen, the most important, I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. Most important person in your most important politician in your life is your city council member, and more importantly, your school board member. Does not matter who's in the ninth floor in Phoenix. Doesn't matter who's in the White House. None of that matters. I mean, it matters, but not as much as your school board member. Their decisions impact you far more than a legislator will. And I got that's American public's got to understand that. Okay. They have here's a good here's do you know the biggest employer in Surprise is? Who's the big who has the most job who creates the most jobs in the city of Surprise?
Oh
Who is
my
it?
God, is it a school district?
Nicer School District. Yes, it's the number one job employer. Yeah, that's how big, that's how impactful school districts are.
Wow.
Okay, so they employ more people than the city of Surprise does. That's how. I mean, 22 dozen schools, right?
Mhm.
Thousands of children. I mean, it is a massive endeavor, an important one. So you better be paying attention to who's your school board members. Yeah, absolutely. He's not wrong. I mean, that's where money decisions are made. That's why I'm very lucky to have Dr. Croto as um our superintendent and Jim Dean before him. And these guys, they don't create admin positions just to, you know, give their friends jobs. That happens. Okay. You watch school districts, you know what happens. This is
Well, I
incentives.
think, yeah, what surprises me is less than 20% of the voters actually vote.
I know.
We're talking about the implications of your home values, the kind of amenities that you have in your
Yep.
community.
Yes.
Uh, it's so important, and I don't even know how to get people more interested in voting in these elections. I just don't know what the answer is. I've lived here for 20 years, and it's always been at that 20% level.
Always. Hey, listen, democracy only works if you use it. I mean, democracy works.
Yeah.
It puts out exactly what you put in. Okay. Well, there you go. I don't know. I'll tell you. I, you're doing your job, you know, by focusing on the issues, and you share that with your media, right? But you can, you can, you can't shove a horse's head into water.
Yeah,
You
that's
can. I
correct.
mean, we can compel people to vote. I don't think we should.
Yeah.
We can.
I mean, they mail the ballot right to your house. I don't know
I don't know
how
how much easier it is. Yeah.
easier it can get.
But I ran through when I was running for office. I would knock on doors. Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm your neighbor. I'm running to be your representative at City Hall. You'd be like, what do they do? Like, oh my God. You don't know what all right. Well, but
All
I get
right.
it. You know, people, they live their lives, and maybe and I don't want to go on a tangent here, but you know, who covers local news anymore? Not a lot of people. There's some dedicated people, God bless them, but all the big news they cover DC and the Beltway and what's happening at Governor Hobbs. That's
And
it.
the squirrel that can water ski, right? I
Yeah.
used to be in TV news, and
Yeah,
it
you
was
know.
always, I know, the very last segment always had to be something cute and funny. Every time the squirrel came up, I specifically picked the squirrel because that would get us people to stay to watch
Yeah, yeah.
just the squirrel on the water. It was so
All
bad.
right, you Luddites. Look at this squirrel. I'm trying to teach you the importance of teach you important things.
Okay, so
Okay.
last year I asked you the big question I'm going to ask you again this year. Are you happy?
Super happy.
Yes.
Super
Still
happy.
happy?
Yeah, even though I will tell you, and I don't want to be a bummer, but one thing I learned about this job is it also comes with heartbreak issues too. A lot of what I deal with is constituent issues. Back after I had this interview, I got to run and talk to constituent, and there have been heartbreaking ones, um, and I hate those calls. I wasn't prepared for that. I still am not to get the call from the deputy city manager at 9 o'clock at night saying, I got a brief you want a elder abuse case. We need state help. I mean, those things never get easy. But yet, despite that, I love this job, very happy, and very blessed that the voters trusted me to do this. And yeah, super happy. I need more vacation time. I have no life. Between my day job and this, yeah.
That's it.
Boy.
Well, thank you for all you do. And thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's always so fun to talk to you. We should do it more often.
Yes. Find a hot topic. We'll dig into that. Something light like abortion.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm just kidding. Don't ever bring me on that one.
Yeah.
No, please.
Yeah,
No. Next time a hot topic brings up, let's do it again.
Okay.
DNSF
Good deal.
that wows people up. So.
Well, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too, Jen. God bless.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.